Hello, this is Professor Winson. This is a review of the work to be covered in the class for module number 10. Last week we discussed the chapter on speaking to persuade. We learned that there were three different kinds of persuasive speeches: the question of fact speech, the question of value speech, and the question of policy speech. At this point, you should have a pretty good idea of which type of speech you'll be delivering and how to organize that speech. You started to think about how to organize your persuasive speech. And now this week, we're going to move on to methods of argumentation covered in Chapter 16. We'll take a look at what you need to pay attention to in that chapter. I will remind you that there is no group discussion for this module number 10, and then we'll go over the module number 10 assignment, which includes a draft of your persuasive speech outline, your main points and subpoints, and a video presentation of that basic outline or your basic argument, and one piece of supporting material. Here we are in module number 10. You can see the different segments of that module, and I'm going to open up the top folder that covers Chapter 16, the slideshow and video review. Here are the slideshows. Before we get to those slideshows, and I just want to point out just one or two things from those slideshows, I'd like to take a look at these persuasive speech samples that are available to you. Under the full persuasive speeches, you can find these speeches here. I really suggest that you take a look at this one, Putting the Brakes on Teenage Driving. This is a problem, cause, solution speech. It has three main points: problem, cause, and solution. It's well evidenced, it's well delivered, transitions are good, it has an appropriate introduction and conclusion. And for those of you doing a policy speech, you should really take a look at that. For those of you doing a Monroe's motivated sequence speech, that is a speech that is calling the audience to do something or take action, I suggest you take a look at this speech, The Ultimate Gift. The other set of video speeches that you should take a look at is under this heading here, Chapter 16, Review Videos. Click on that, and you can find several snippets from speeches covering different skills that you need to cover, that you need to understand and be able to carry out. The three that I think you should take a look at, and again, these are just snippets, they're not full speeches. This one deals with establishing credibility in a persuasive speech, and you of course establish that credibility in the introduction. This one here is dealing with establishing common ground in a persuasive speech. If your audience tends to disagree with what you are saying, you need to show them at the beginning of the speech that you and they are similar and that they should listen to what you're talking about even though they disagree with you. And then this snippet uses or exemplifies using evidence in a persuasive speech, and it comes from the Putting the Brakes on Teenage Driving, using evidence and citing evidence. So take a look at these three. It won't take you but a few minutes. Okay, let's now take a look at just a couple of ideas from the narrated slideshows. I'll click that and open it, and I'm going to do a quick review of this slideshow on reasoning in making an argument right here. So in making an argument, it's important that you use logic and reasoning and evidence in creating a sense in the audience that what you're saying is true and right, and get them to agree with you, and if you need to, get them to actually do something. So let's take a look at a couple of items in this slideshow, and then you can take a look at the entire slideshow when you get a chance this coming week. The first thing that the slideshow talks about is the use of evidence. Evidence, as we've talked about in class, another way of saying that is supporting material. For our speeches, the evidence you'll be using are examples, statistics, and testimony, both expert and peer testimony. And this slide shows how the evidence needs to be specific. It needs to be really focused. It can't be general. It needs to be novel, so it needs to be new. It can't be old. It can't be something that is not too recent. It needs to come from credible sources, of course, and you need to explain your evidence. So that's an important slide that you should listen to when you cover this slideshow. And then this is an important schematic that you should try to understand. Here at the top is what you're proving. This is your proposition. In the example that you'll find in the assignment, the proposition that I use is that fluoridation is safe and that we should continue to use it in our public water supply. So that would be what I am proving, or a proposition. And then you need to come up with your reasons for supporting that proposition. In my example, I have two main reasons. The first main reason is that fluoridation is a safe solution to an important dental problem in the country, and that it's safe. And the second main reason is that if we didn't fluoride the water, that it would create problems. So I have a solution problem speech. Now, in order to follow through with that argument, I need to have supporting evidence, specific, credible supporting evidence that supports each of the reasons. I may have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of evidence that supports each reason, and each piece of evidence needs to be explained, and it needs to be credible, and it needs to be recent. More difficult concepts come under reasoning, and you should take a look at this and see how far along you can get to understanding these different kinds of reasonings. That's reasoning from specific instances, reasoning from principle, causal reasoning, and analogical reasoning. The slideshow follows with examples of each one, so you can figure out what each is used. Some of these things you use automatically without even thinking about it, but you should become aware of different kinds of reasonings so that you can become a better communicator and a better arguer. And I'm bringing up this slide that deals with reasoning because it's one example of a fallacious reasoning, which is covered in another slide, so you need to make sure that you do that. Here we have a false type of reasoning that doesn't work, that says sometimes people will reason that because one thing happens, something else happens, that those two things are related. But things don't necessarily have one cause, and causes aren't always that obvious. And so when you are an audience member and you're listening to someone making a false cause reason, you should make a note of that and ask questions about it after the speech. Okay, so that's one of the slideshows dealing with reasoning. Cover all 4 of them. This is material that you need to know for this class. And next we're going to move on and take a look at the assignment that's due this week. So here is the assignment for Module 10. This is due at the end of the week. You need to produce a video presentation that's discussing the basic persuasive argument that you'll be making. The first thing you need to do, number 1 here, is develop a 2-tiered outline for your persuasive speech. In other words, it needs to have 2 or 3 main points, depending on what kind of persuasive speech you are creating, and then 2 subpoints for each main point. Now, it can have more than 2 subpoints. It can have 3, 4, 5, but you need at least 2. And then you need to paste this work into your Module 10 blog. Then you need to use that outline to create a video summarizing your argument. And you need to explain what you're arguing. In other words, what is your persuasive question and your argumentative answer to that question. And then what are your main points, and explaining what each main point is going to be covering. And then I'd like you to share one piece of specific supporting material in the form of a statistic or testimony or illustrative example, and make sure to explain where that supporting material comes from. Let's take a look at an example of this, or a sample of this assignment, and you can find it in your student blog area, and it will be at the top of that student blog. So if you click right up here on View Sample Module Assignments, you'll be taken to a sample of the Module 10 assignment. Here is a sample of the assignment for Module 10. And below that, of course, is the sample for Module 9. If you haven't completed that one yet, please do so. This speech that is being used for this sample is a policy speech, but it's in a little bit of an inverse direction, because it starts with the solution and then it goes to the problem. You use this type of organization when you're supporting a policy that you feel is working. If you feel that a policy needs to be changed, you'll be using the problem solution order. If you're supporting a policy that you agree with, you'll be using this kind of order from this speech, which is a solution problem order. In other words, the policy solves the problem. If you were to change the policy, it would create a problem by just changing it. Okay, so here is the video link to you can see the video that I created, in which I summarized the argument and talked about one piece of supporting material that I would use in the speech. Here is the persuasive question: should fluoridation of public drinking water continue? Here is the answer to that question: the fluoridation of public drinking water should be continued, because if it were stopped, it would create a problem in the health development of our children's teeth, or in the healthy development of our children's teeth. Okay, and then here is my two-tiered outline. The two main points: how is fluoridation a solution to national dental problems, with my subpoints, and you can take a look at my video and explains that. Here's my second main point: what problems would be created if there were no fluoride in our drinking water. And then that's explained again in the video. And also I talk about this one piece of supporting material. It comes from this source. Here's the APA reference entry for that source. And it is a piece of testimony, and so there's the testimony. And you, of course, can go to the video and see my version of this this assignment. Okay. Let's take a quick look at where we're going next week. We're getting ready for our persuasive speeches, and here we are in Module 10. This is what we're doing this week. Next week, you're going to be developing your preparation outline. This is your complete outline that includes your main points, subpoints, and supporting material. So this then will be a three-tiered outline. And you'll be submitting that preparation outline, that complete outline, which should be a couple, 2-3 pages long, submitting it through your Safe Assign tool. And we'll do that next week. Let's take a look at the schedule for the rest of the semester. Notice I clicked on Syllabus and Schedule. Right now we are at Module 10. We're right here. Notice that this module does count a bit more than the other modules, because it includes a video presentation. And next week we'll move on to Module number 11, the preparation outline for the persuasive speech. This is the complete outline. This counts even more towards your final grade. This one counts a lot in these modules. Okay, and then that's going to be followed by a persuasive speech outline meeting, and that'll be a meeting with me. You notice the dates over here. That'll be a meeting with me individually with you in my office to go over your preparation outline. We then end up the semester with the persuasive speech presentation. Notice that it's worth 25% of your total. And the dates for those speeches are here. If you're in the hybrid class, the dates for those speeches will be on these two dates. If you're in the regular class that meets twice a week, the speeches will be done on those dates. Okay, there will be a final exam, departmental exam, and there's a sample of that in your tests your chapter quizzes section over here, and you can take that sample exam to see what the departmental exam looks like. Okay, so this was your review for module number 10. If you have any questions for me, please make sure to email me. Feel free to do that. And I will be, I'll get back to you within 12 hours, no more than 24 hours. Hope you all have a good week, and we'll see you later. Remember, my office number is 336T, room 19, and drop by during office hours to see me and go over past due work. Have a good week. Bye-bye.